Welcome to Golf Industry Guru and the Gig Podcast, where we interview the best and brightest golf and hospitality leaders on the planet. On today's episode, you will learn some proven real-world solutions that'll help you and your team solve some of your biggest golf business challenges. So stick around for some tips, tools, and training to get you, your people, and your business powered on. Here's your host, James Cronk.
Well, hello, Gig Nation. It is James Cronk back with another podcast on Golf Industry Guru. And thanks for listening. I am thrilled to be chatting with my guest today. Although I will say to you that I learned after about 3 months of saying the name of his company wrong, that I finally, at least at some point, heard a podcast and learned the right way to say Noteefy, because we have Jake Gordon, the co-founder, the CEO, not of Noteefy, which is what I said the first time like an idiot, but Noteefy, which is an unbelievable software app, tee time search assistant that if you don't currently have at your facility, you need to listen to this podcast and learn about this technology, because over the last, 8 or 9 or 10 months, when I've been traveling and talking to people in the industry, they've been talking about Noteefy. They keep saying about, have you got Noteefy? Are you guys using Noteefy? You know, there's this great new app called Noteefy. There's this great new technology called Noteefy. And finally, after far too long, I have been able to secure our guest today for a little podcast. So, Mr. Jake Gordon, welcome to the Gig Podcast.
James, thanks so much for having me. And, I might have to hire you to come to my Thanksgiving. And when I come and see the family, I'm going to have you just do an introduction, because I think everybody will love to hear, that warm welcome. I might get my food dropped on the floor by accident, but I really appreciate that warm introduction.
Oh, no, not at all, man. It's totally true. As I said, I've been doing a little bit of research, listening to some other your podcasts, reading about your backstory, learning about Noteefy, and as a fellow, entrepreneur in the golf space, struggling to try to get our products exposed to the global market. I think, there's probably some things I can learn. I know there's some things I can learn from you and your company's journey. And so I'm really interested about that. But before we do that, Jake, please, share with our listeners maybe a little bit of your story, your journey. My understanding is that, you're not a golf pro, you're not a club manager, you're not, I don't know what your golf game's like, your handicap, I'll ask you in a minute, but you obviously came into the golf industry from as an outsider, as we say, and fascinating journey. So let's start with that and take your time.
Well, you're absolutely right. I'm not any of those things. My golf game would very clearly show you that I'm none of those things. Although I will say yesterday I shot an 86, got my handicap down to a 13. So I'm feeling, for me, very good about my game, hunting for pars and bogeys and avoiding the blow-ups. And, I try to hit my birdie quota of one around. That's where my game's at. I'm absolutely full-blown in love with the game of golf. Head over heels, in the honeymoon phase, which has never left. But you're absolutely right. I am by no means a career golf professional or a golfer. I actually just picked up the game of golf only 4 years ago, believe it or not. When you look at those COVID NGF charts and you see 3.5 million new golfers entering the game a year, I was one of those microscopic little green dots that NGF puts on there. And it felt like everyone else I knew was also one of those green dots in the up and to the right chart. Believe it or not, I grew up here in Southern California. That's where I am right now. I'm in LA. And when you grow up in LA, the first thing you can do when you can walk, you could play baseball. So I had a glove and a ball and a bat in my hand since I was 4 years old. And, I thought that I would be, honestly, for a decent percentage of my adolescence, I thought I was going to be a college baseball player. I'm 5'10" right now. I was 5'10" when I was 14. So
You were going to the show.
Listen, I peaked, in 8th grade when I was 5'10", 150. I was a monster, and now I'm, 5'10", a little bit more than 150. So, I was in love with the game of baseball. But funny enough, one thing I realized in baseball is there's not a correlation between effort and reward. What that means is actually size and physical gifts like height and power are very important in being able to be elite. At some point, you can only throw so hard. You can only hit it so far. It doesn't matter how many reps you take. And then the other part is when you're on the team, I was a pitcher. And so there'd be many times you throw a beautiful slider, you hit that outside corner, and it's a little dribbler to the shortstop, and it goes right between his legs, right? And
Sure.
It was frustrating to me to effectively have a lot of the performance outcome not necessarily in your control. So around middle school, I got into wrestling, and I really got into the sport of wrestling because of that exact reason. You're 100% in control of your destiny. You can't pass the ball. You can't blame the ref. There's no politics because the coach's kid is, on the all-star team. There's none of that. Like, you either win or you lose. It's binary. And then the harder you work, the more you win. It doesn't matter how tall you are, or it's really, I loved the fact that wrestling was so much so, defined by your own efforts and your own tenacity, if you will. So even though I was late to the sport of wrestling, I played baseball throughout high school. I wrestled in college. And so I went out to school in Pennsylvania from Los Angeles and competed in collegiate wrestling all 4 years. I had a nice little run. But overall, I think that was more character building. That was more building, I'd say, the perseverance, the tenacity, the persistence of maybe a lot of the entrepreneurial traits I have today. I think back to being a collegiate athlete and just, you versus the world, it felt like. But I picked up the game of golf because I've also always been passionate about entrepreneurship. I did a little startup in college. I had a chance to work I had a fellowship. I went out to Tel Aviv, Israel, and I worked at a big venture capital fund out there and learned about the art, I'll call it, of founding a company and what it means to have an idea and bring it to life from an investor's point of view, from an operator's point of view. And that was an incredible journey through college of getting these internships, both as an investor and then as an entrepreneur, where I would say I had the bug. So I got the golf bug eventually, but I also got the entrepreneurship bug. And one thing I was thinking to myself is, hey, where can I go to learn about the art of building? And I did a master's degree and was fortunate enough to get into an incredible firm called Accenture. Accenture, I think, is the #1 by market share consulting and technology firm in the world. And so for me, I'd say that was like my first big break, where somebody gave me a shot with an atypical background. But I got to join the strategy and consulting analyst program where, if you ever heard of these analyst programs, they're 2 years, they're rotational. You work on 30 different projects. You're traveling a lot. It was an adventure. And from there, I had a chance to join our ventures group. So this was very unusual, but Accenture actually was a very active venture capital investor. And we had about 50 to 60 companies that were in our portfolio of investments. And I joined the ventures team. And what that meant is my job was to help these portfolio companies grow and scale their businesses with specifically the Fortune 500. So I had a chance to partner with founders, understand their technology, and build out the muscle, if you will, of figuring out how to take really cool software and make it real through deals at scale with some big companies. So that was incredible. In parallel, around COVID, right? You can't really wrestle as a post grad. Nobody wants to, and your body hurts a lot. So I was in the market for a new hobby, let's say. And my then girlfriend's father, my now father-in-law, said, "Hey man, why don't you pick up the game of golf?" And I said, "Golf, like that's kind of boring, right? It's not." I think this was 2019. He said, "Listen," and actually he took my wife's brother and I at the club, and he said, "Let's just get a lesson. One lesson. If you don't like it, never pick up a club again." So the club pro at Clinton Country Club in Connecticut showed me how to grip it, showed me how to swing it. I have the horsepower, right? As a golf counselor and baseball player, the swing speed was not the problem. It was the whole, making contact and making it get in the air and go straight thing. But, I thought it was fun. It was cool. We went on a family trip together and we were in the Bahamas, and he said, "Come out and play." It was a stunning track. I'm itching now just to get back there. Ocean views on every hole, unfathomable green fees that will make your stomach turn. But he was generous enough to take me out there, and I could barely get the ball off the ground. The only club I used the entire day was a 7-iron, and I rage quit. I walked off after 14. So that was the start to my golf career. But, I think a few things about that. Number one is we just kept it light. We had fun, and he didn't take it very seriously. He just, the fact that he brought me out there as a novice to a beautiful course and didn't give me a hard time about barely knowing the game meant a lot. And then the tailwinds of golf started to kick in around this time, 2019, 2020. Went to the driving range with some friends. As a baseball fan, to see this little white ball go 400 feet or more, make it go 900 feet, pretty visually incredible. And I would say I started to get the bug. Then around COVID, came back home to LA to visit my family while I was still working at Accenture. And not only did I fall in love with the game of golf, every one of my friends did as well. And they were washed up baseball players, soccer players, football players, all working in finance and tech and banking, and fell in love with golf, fell in love with it. And we were all terrible together. So the first big frontier was getting out every week and all trying to break 100. And then, we're athletes, so we're chipping away. And now a few of us are sniffing 90. And then we're chipping away and someone starts to get a birdie. And then we start to break, someone hits 85, right? And I think that progress was so inspiring. But
Shot euphoria.
I love when Greg says that. It resonates, and I still get it today. I'm thinking, yesterday there was a par 3, 155, had to carry over water, hit the back, zipped it 2 feet, tapped it in for birdie. And I'm like, man, this game's the best.
That'll keep you coming back. There's no doubt about it.
I'm deleting the multiple driver shanks that I had to take a drop on. I'm only thinking about the water tap and birdie.
So, Jake, I got a question for you about Noteefy, and hoping that there's an answer to this question, because if there isn't, you need to make one up. But what was the kind of Shangri-La moment? What was the inspiration for the creation? And we're going to get into what Noteefy is, but just how did you come up with the concept of Noteefy? Because I can imagine 2022, it's golf courses are busy. We've had this huge growth in Canada, for example. 30% growth, 20% growth, 25% growth at certain peaks and valleys, but certain peaks of post-COVID kind of golf was going crazy. All of a sudden, we were going from discounting green fees by 50% to full tee sheets, and people, getting angry that they couldn't get a tee time. So, what was the inspiration for now this adventure that you obviously left Accenture for?
Yeah. So I would say I had 8 to 10 buddies who were in this rotation of newfound fanatics here in Los Angeles during the COVID time. And I was the tee time captain, if you will. I've heard that term captain. I used to call the tea time guy, right? But I was the one who would be sitting here talking to you on a Friday morning. And on this monitor over here, I'm smashing the tea sheet, looking and praying for a cancellation. Right. And on this monitor over here, I'd have another one, smash and refresh. And I think every group of weekend warrior golfers who are busy, or their dads, or they just love to play on the weekends, they all have someone whose job it is to do this. And that was me. Now, I was extremely disgruntled about this, as is everyone who has this responsibility, and frustrated. But my day job is working with emerging technology companies and solving problems and helping them go to scale. So that's my orientation. As I described, I have this entrepreneurial passion, and I've built a really strong capability around understanding technology. So I think the aha moment was maybe when I was booking a reservation for a restaurant, and I used OpenTable, Resi. They each have a very light functionality of automated supply and demand matching. So this planted the seed, like, man, why does this not exist in golf? And then the second thing is YouTube has a notify me feature when your creator you want comes up, publishes new content. That was the aha. I was like, we need to combine the automation and functionality that other industries have figured out in restaurants, in travel. You use Expedia, you use Google Flights, you use, Bing Travel, and they have elegant automation between supply and demand. And in YouTube, the ability to get prompted when the creator comes out with something new. I thought there really could be something here for golf. The biggest reason why is because, as you said, supply is fixed and finite and perishable. Demand is, in many cases, 1.5 to 2 times, 150 to 200% demand to supply ratio. But the cancellation rates are incredibly high. I was shocked. Lightspeed put out a report that said 20% of tee times get canceled. And I was absolutely shocked that you have these dynamics where demand exceeds supply is perishable, and the supply is being canceled at a meaningful rate. So I said, what if we could elegantly build a platform that allows the golfer to input their parameters, get notified when the availability came online, and book directly with the facility. And it would be a win-win-win. It would be a win for the golfer because they can go about their business and get an alert. It'd be a win for the facility because they could compress the tee sheet while minimizing the operational burden of taking phone calls all day. And then it could be a win for us because we can be the connector in a way that truly was additive instead of predatory, candidly, to the marketplace. So that was the initial hypothesis. Noteefy. I'm not a brand person, unfortunately. I don't think anywhere in that story did I outline being a brand expert. So I came up with the name and was on to the next problem. But in retrospect, it's a little bit cringeworthy, so apologize for that. Other people say, listen, hey, you have a weird name, so it sticks. So I'll run with that story. But that was the aha moment. And that was almost 2 years ago, actually, that we initially had the idea. And it's been a fun journey since then.
So how unbelievable. And yeah, I mean, unbelievable. And probably, like you said, I mean, the fact that you have lived this life of watching people with ideas in the tech space turn them into a business. How long did it take you from your aha moment before you had a product? Like then what's the journey? You got to find tech. I mean, was it you coding in your computer in your basement with the lights off, or was then you've got to kind of create the technology or the platform or find out the way these, I mean, one of the things that fascinates me about Noteefy is as you say in the website, it integrates with every tee sheet, right? And so, one of the things that we learn here at Golf Industry Guru over the last 4 or 5 years, there's things that we can now do that we could never do 3 or 4 years ago with because the technology didn't exist, right? And now we're, now I gave a presentation the other day in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but it was me doing my speech, but with a push of a button, I was all of a sudden speaking Spanish because of AI and translation. So, I could never have done that 3 years ago. So Jake, how did you take that aha moment to become a viable, saleable product?
Yeah, I think the first part is, as a consumer with this problem, as a golfer struggling to find tee times, I felt viscerally driven to solve this problem. I needed to solve my own problem. And I became, I would say, possessed, obsessed even. I could not think about anything else. All I needed was for this product to exist in the market. I was shocked that it didn't. And I felt like the stars were aligning, that I needed to, it was the hero's call to action. I was like, I need to at least try, or I will be sitting in a rocker when I'm 90 years old saying I should have, could have, would have, whatever. And someone else did it. And I was like, no, I need to try. I am not technical. I do not code. And so that's problem A. But the first thing I did, order of operations, was some research and discovery. In the startup world, we always say, fall in love with the problem, not the solution. Fall in love with the problem, not the solution. So I wanted to take my own advice and frankly see if I knew what the heck I was doing in my day job by building instead of just talking all day. So I did some discovery. I sent out a survey to every golfer I knew, maybe got a couple hundred responses, and I just started picking up the horn and calling operators cold and saying at the courses in my area, do you ever have people complain about finding tee times? Yeah, every day. What else is new? Do you ever have cancellations? Of course. Do you have a solution to golfers who can't find tee times? No. Do you have a solution to cancellations? No. Do your operators like taking phone calls all day? Heck no. Okay. Verified the problem exists for me, verified the problem exists for my friends, and verified that there seemed to be some appetite economically if we could solve this problem for the consumer and for the operator. Problem validated. Now what? Well, believe it or not, I started just doing some testing. I started putting out some ads with a landing page with the concept, because as part of this, what's called like lean startup framework, you can test a product in market without necessarily having it built yet to see the consumer and market demand. If it was crickets and nobody cared about your idea, I probably would have took my ball and gone home and gone about my life. But we got some incredible signs of what we call product market fit. So thousands of people started signing up for the landing page. I mean, I'd refresh and there was 10 people, refresh, there's 10 more people. And I was like, holy smokes, people want this problem solved. Okay, well, there's different ways to skin the cat. So when I talked to the operators, there seemed to be an appetite to solve this problem for them. I'm a B2B guy. I'm as evidenced by the name Noteefy, which most people are saying Noteefy. I am not a consumer founder, and consumer software is all about brand. It's all about promotion. If you think about Airbnb, Uber, Pinterest, TaskRabbit, these are consumer softwares, marketplaces that brand is critical. That's not me. That's not my core skill set. So the first thing I did was I actually started engaging with the thousands of people who had signed up for our online site, for our landing page, and said, hey, here's the vision. Here's what I'm thinking. Does anyone have skills or interested in getting involved? Dathan Wong, he reaches out. He says, hey, I'm a senior engineer. I live in LA. I spent 10 years at Microsoft and Boeing and 5 startups. I'm obsessed with golf. I need to solve this problem. We actually got together at a local muni here in LA. We walked the course. We got to know each other, and it was like a match made in heaven. He said his perfect day is building software all day. And I said, my perfect day is helping to build a company and build a business. And so we had an amazing fit personality-wise, very yin-yang. And we started just building getting into the lab and hammering out our first minimally viable product. Once we had a product built, I called back up some of the operators, namely Brian Reed from Simi Hills, who will have forever his spot in the Noteefy history as the first yes we ever got. And he said, listen, I said, Brian, we got the product. I talked to you 3 months ago. You verified you had this issue. Can you try it? He said, yeah. So he took our Noteefy system. He put it out to his 50,000 golfers. He installed it into his website. And it worked. Hundreds of golfers started signing up. Phone calls started going down. Incremental revenue at the last minute started going up. The thing didn't crash, burn with smoke and sparks and fire. It actually withstood the demand. And that was customer number one. And today we have 450 courses using the system.
We'll get back to our conversation in a moment. But first, are you ready to learn from the world's greatest golf and hospitality industry leaders? Train your team and grow your business with a membership to Golf Industry Guru. Join for less than $3 per day and give your entire team access to over 150 hours of courses, podcasts, webinars, templates, articles, live Q&A calls, and more. Free content samples and registration details at golfindustryguru.com.
Wow. In 2 years.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. That's what a great success story. Okay. So let's explain a little bit to our listeners and me about how does it work? Yeah. How does it actually work? How do you integrate with T-sheets? And not that, but obviously, I mean, one of the things that we talk about as operators, right, in the golf business, and we just partner with Lightspeed for a reason, and one of the reasons is that they believe in integration with other applications, right? And they don't I don't want to get in the tee time business. I don't want to get in the POS business. We're in the education business. We're in the safety business. We're in the risk management liability business. We know our lane, and that's the lane we want to be in. But what I love is the integration part. So can you just share a little bit about how your platform actually works from a technology standpoint, or from an integration standpoint?
Absolutely. So Noteefy is effectively an automated waitlist or digital assistant for the course. And what that means is a course can install our system, which can happen instantly, effectively. It's a widget that lives on either the tee sheet and or the website homepage. So you go right now to TPC Scottsdale, Streamsong, Sand Valley, Chambers Bay, Whistling Straits, any of those properties, and you're going to see our product right there on the homepage. And the way it works is a golfer can search for all of their future desired tee times, days, times, parameters, players, what have you, courses, if it's multi-course operator. Effectively, the exact same data that I would if I picked up the phone and said, hey, James, do you have anything on August 15th for 2 players at the Cronk course? I'm also open to, the gig course as well if you have something, right? That golfer in seconds puts in their parameters. Our technology then begins monitoring the tee sheet in real time. We're looking for a match. When a match happens, we fire off an alert that goes to James, informing you, notifying you about the match, and routing you right back to the tee sheet to book on that day within those parameters, thereby compressing the tee sheet, delighting a customer, and minimizing a call. 100% of that customer's journey goes through their existing channels that they're already using today. We're not a marketplace. We're not a booking engine. We're not even touching payment. All those things are deliberate and by design. We don't want to be a middleman. We don't want to be a marketplace. We don't want to take a portion of the top line that course deserves. We're a pure SaaS company. And I think that by being that way, we're very easily able to show the operators the ROI, and we're able to prove our value without putting our hand in the cookie jar that they've worked so hard to create value for. So that's a little bit how it works.
The golfer pays? Who pays?
The course pays a software subscription.
Okay.
For the golfer, we don't take any variable portion of the revenue. We don't take any commission. It's a pure software subscription, just like you would pay for any Microsoft product. It's not variable. And the reason we do that, again, is so that we're not a cog. We're not a cost of goods sold on the operator with their valued revenue. We want you to push your highest listed green fee. We want you to never discount quality time again. We never want a last minute cancellation to go unfilled. Our incentives are 100% aligned with the operator in our current in our economic model. So that's super important to us, and I think that's where there's a differentiation.
So I'm a golf course owner operator, and we just got the pitch. Tell me, Jake. And maybe you can and you can't. I don't know. But so, how do you share ROI? So how do you prove ROI? So
Absolutely.
Let me back it up. We've got a platform that we promote called the Toolbox, which is a safety platform. It basically can cost $3,000 a year in US and $4,000 a year in Canada.
Sure.
What I say to our clients pretty easily is that when's the last time you had a claim? And what did you spend on that? because that's like 3 days lawyer fees, or that's like, your safe workplace discount and your insurance, or that's, it's paid for itself 10 times. If you have one claim a year or every 2 years, which is the average, it's going to pay for itself. So how do you explain the ROI to a course? And then I would assume, sorry, to clarify, did you say, is it like a subscription based on the amount of times it's used, or just a one-time annual or monthly subscription fee?
It's a one-time annual subscription fee, and attribution of value is everything for us. We need to be able to show this operator the return on investment and the hurdle rate between our costs and your benefit. So we have a robust analytics platform. Back to what your conversation with Matt Welliver and Scott Wellman was like. Yeah. You pretty much had Matt talking about his platform and how, hey, they want to nail POS and T-sheet and marketing really well. We now have a team of several software engineers who are brilliant onshore in the US, huddled together, thinking every single day about one thing. Actually, two things. Number one is, how do we show this operator incredible value? So on the back end of our analytics platform, they can see every single attributed tee time to our platform and the dollar value and 30 other analytics of how our technology has benefited their course. There's maybe 40 to 50 different metrics they can look at, reports they can pull. They should know exactly how well we're doing for them at any given point. That's the first thing. So our entire team is obsessed with operator value full and through 100%. The number two thing is delighting golfers. We've had hundreds of thousands of golfers use Noteefy. And we are obsessed with making this a brilliant, simple, and performant customer journey. It's all we think about with relation to our product. So, I think a lot of people say, oh, this is a feature. What is this? We're a company. No, we believe this is a platform, and we believe this is a big enough problem that we can obsess over. And the performance that we've shown, the reason that we have 450 courses is because we're showing the value. We're obsessing over the operator's value creation, and we're obsessing over the customer's journey. And by doing those two things, courses know that this is something that they can turn on and generate a return on investment. And we've been able to show that over and over and over again.
When Scott and I talk about, our platforms, we say to ourselves, how could a golf course not, How can a golf course not spend $150 US a month for a golf industry guru to get access to 230 hours of content? But guess what? They don't. They don't. So what barriers or why would a course not join Noteefy? Why in the world would a golf course not join Noteefy? And it's just a question between you go of time before you get from 450 to 14,000.
Listen, the barrier, you're exactly right. It can't be good enough. Noteefy cannot be good enough. And it actually can't be nice to have. It can't be cool. It can't be interesting. A parallel we used in the startup world, it can't be a vitamin for a headache. If James has a headache, you don't want a vitamin. You want an Advil. We have to be an Advil. The hurdle, we can't show a 2x ROI. We can't show a 3x ROI. We have to show a 20x ROI or a 30x ROI. That's what gets us to ubiquity. It's just day after day, brick after brick, making sure the operator is first and they get the value and they see the customers loving this thing and not being able to live without it. So, yeah, good enough or a no-brainer. A no-brainer is not enough for us because this industry, I'm an outsider. The bar of them to adopt something new is extremely high. It has to be not a no-brainer. It has to be essential.
One of the things in the golf industry that you probably have seen a little bit, we're a little slow to change in the golf industry. We're a little resistant. We're also quite resistant to new technologies. That's just one of the things, and not everyone. And I would like to say that I see a great transition in operators and owners to embrace technology now than they ever had pre-COVID. That's for sure. But I would assume that if you're a private club or that, you have an empty tee sheet or the phone is not ringing off the hook or someone can get a tee time at 10:30 on a Saturday morning, there's going to be obviously less of a need or a benefit, but there's probably still benefits. So what do you say to that facility that is saying, I don't know how often I get, we used to have this conversation in the old days. We used to say, we used to have a paper log that the staff used to have to make a tick every time someone phoned for a tee time. And we didn't have the tee time, back in the good old days.
Wish I had that paper of everyone who made that list.
Exactly.
It's a good way to look.
So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that kind of scenario, Jake?
Listen, there's different value buckets that we think about. One is that top line revenue, and really top line revenue comes from refilling canceled tee times that would have gone unfilled and maximizing your utilization. The next is the operator experience and efficiency. Do you get phone calls about tee times? And if the answer is yes, that means that there's an opportunity cost on your staff who's on the phone when two people are in line and They could be saying, Mr. Cronk, how's your day going? And how's your game looking these days?
Sure. Sell them a shirt. Yeah.
Jake over there is our new staff pro, and he's only a 13 handicap, but he could teach you something. No, I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but the facility staff, the operator experience matters, and if you could free up your staff to do some higher value activities, they will thank you. Maybe they'll stay longer and not churn, and maybe you get incremental revenue that way. But the last thing, and what I would say to someone is that member or that customer experience is the number one thing. Nobody likes manually checking for tee times. Nobody. And
100%.
And nobody likes calling the pro shop to ask. Funny enough, the average age of someone using Noteefy across our portfolio is over 65 years old. And that's a very significant data set. Folks who have less, technology savvy actually are the highest adopters of our solution, which is interesting. And so what I would say to someone who maybe you're a private club and you're not worrying about throughput maximization of rounds, is do you want to give an elevated customer experience where someone doesn't have to call and every one of your members gets their own tea time assistant for free to them?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't hear a lot of people who say, no, I don't think that's something that I want to give my golfers. It's a different business case, 100% different business case.
So you don't list the price on the website, and I'm assuming that's because you want to have a conversation with potential courses. Is your price out there? Is it published? Is it clear? Does it change if you have 5 golf courses versus you have 1? If you have 40,000 rounds of golf versus 20,000 rounds of golf? If you're open for 12 months versus 5?
Sure. It doesn't change very much. We do have some variability with regard to the multi-course operators, some of whom we have multiple customers that have 30 to 50, in some cases 70 customers with us. So in some cases there's variability. Usually there's actually not. There's usually not variability by region, not variability by, sun, snow, sunbelt, whatever. And the reason is because, number one, we know that we can exceed the investment cost by multiples. Number two is people use Noteefy year round. When it's freezing cold out, snowing, or raining in the middle of December, James and Jake are inside being like, man, we should set our tea time searches for the rest of the spring so that we're the first to know. And when the course sends out a note saying, hey, create your searches for the spring, even though it's freezing out, people jump on it. Sand Valley Resort in Wisconsin, and they are closed after October 31st, closed. Yet they opened their spring tea times in November, and they had so much pent-up demand that I think they filled up their tee sheet within hours for the spring. So we know that we're still delivering value on the off season, and we know that if you're a busy course, we could show you a multiple on your investment, very scientifically.
Do you make any effort to communicate and promote to golfers, or is it through once the golf course becomes a partner, they kind of send their message out to their database and say, we're excited to bring on, Noteefy and register your tee time today, that kind of stuff? Like I signed up today for your platform and got a text, welcome to Noteefy, plug in your preferred tee times at the course you want to find, or et cetera, et cetera. So do you go to consumers directly, or tell me more about that?
We really don't. We arm the course with all of the marketing collateral in the world so that they can go be the champion of this new service they're providing to their golfers. We value that cherished relationship between the operator and their customers, and we don't cross promote. We don't touch the data. We let that operator be the champion and the hero who's bringing a new tee time assistant to their entire golf base. So we are B2B all day long. That's our business model. That's where we win, and that's where we obsess over. Yes, that golfer experience, hopefully your sign-up flow was elegant. It was easy. If it wasn't, please let me know, and I'll provide that feedback to our engineering team. But, we want it to be easy to use, but also we want to make sure that operator is getting the value that they're expecting. And, we know that there's sensitivity between the golfer and their customer, and we don't want to get in the middle of that. We want to only enhance it.
Do you worry? I don't know about the proprietary knowledge and expertise and patents or whatever might be with your platform, Jake, but do you worry about a POS system creating their own version, or someone else getting in the space, or how do you kind of address that or deal with that?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the controllables. What we can control is building every single day an unbelievable golfer and operator experience that generates a multiple of value of what they're putting in. That's what we worry about. We have, in my humble opinion, some of the best engineers in the world working on just this. this isn't one of 70 products in a suite that they're working on. We're obsessed with one product, and we want to make it ubiquitous. We want to make it the Advil that every operator needs. It's a free market, and people can do what they want. And then, if Instagram wants to copy Snapchat stories, they can. And yeah, we have a patent pending for our proprietary algorithm. The way we've solved this problem took well over 100,000 hours of software engineering from amazing minds, probably 200,000 hours of software engineering. If somebody else wants to put in the work to build 200,000 hours of software engineering, they can. But for us, what is controllable? What is productive? Does it make sense for us to worry, or does it make sense for us to put our heads down and build every day? That's what we think about. Back to my kind of wrestler orientation, right? It's okay to have competition. In fact, it's a good thing. It makes you better. So we are driven like maniacs to make this thing better. And what we're maniacal about is that operator. That operator, you, the operator, are who we think about every single day. For one thing, if you're a POS system or you're an aggregator or you're a marketplace or whatever, you have a lot of things to think about. We have one thing to think about, and it's unbelievable return on investment for operators and an elegant, beautiful customer experience in getting their assistant. Those are the two things we think about. And I think we have an unfair advantage in the talent that we have solving that problem.
I love it. What's next for Noteefy?
Yeah, underneath generate operator value is a robust product roadmap of dozens of sophisticated ideas to make that better. We want to show every single person who signs up for Noteefy a 100x ROI. Okay, that's a big goal. How do we do that? We have so many ideas compounded onto our product and our platform that we're working on every single day, every single night to execute on. So I don't think we want to be everything for everyone. We want to do this one thing extraordinarily well, and we have a robust product roadmap to execute against. I'm really excited about what's coming soon. It's not going to be an extension of 50 different iterations of Noteefy. It's going to be the product that you're paying for as an operator, generating hopefully 100 times the return on investment. Until we get there, we're not going to take our eye off the ball.
I love it. That's Jake. That's an amazing story. You guys have an amazing platform. I've talked to enough smart people, and I've seen enough of the clients that you have that tells me that smart people believe in your platform and believe it's delivering an ROI to them, because you've got a very impressive list of your first 450 clients with some amazing organizations like Landscapes and partnering with people like Lightspeed and others. So I have no doubt. It sounds like you're kind of committed. By the sounds of the chat today, you are definitely committed. I love that, and there's probably so much that I could learn from you about your guys' journey and how you're pulling it all together. But how does a golf course contact you to bring Noteefy to their tee sheet?
Sure. You could look us up, and it's spelled in a kind of funny way, Noteefy, which is a little play on Noteefy, Noteefy. We have, and you can look at it's .app, or you can go to noteefy.com and you'll find us. I'm posting on LinkedIn all the time, Jake Gordon. If you want your LinkedIn feed to be full of golf business content, please come connect with me. And, in general, if you want to reach out, I'm jake@noteefy.app, and I'd love to have a chat. So that's a little bit more. But, yeah, it's been a pleasure, James. Excited about your content. I've been digging into all your stuff. I try and be like a sponge, because I'm an outsider and there's so much to learn. So really, really, really appreciate the conversation.
Well, yeah, thanks, Jake. Appreciate it. And I'm like, like you said earlier on, I love what you said, a couple things, but I mean, one of the things I just loved is that sole dedicated focus of helping operators. Like, what Scott and I try to do every day is what is it that we can do that's going to help a golf club operator find more time, make more money, deliver a better experience to their customers, have more success, love their jobs more. And technology is something that can help them do that. So love learning about the Noteefy story. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you as always for listening to this edition of the Gig Podcast. Jake, really appreciate it. You got his contact info. I implore you to explore it because it's evident that this is where the future of the game will be and is today. And as always, Gig Nation, we will see you next time on the inside.
Thanks for listening to the Gig Podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode and mostly that you learned a few things that will help you improve your business. Join us next time as we continue to bring you the best and brightest golf and hospitality leaders on the planet. Thanks for listening.